My name is Alex, and for as long as I can remember, fashion had always fascinated me. Not just as a casual interest, but as an escape, a secret realm where I could explore aspects of myself that the outside world might never understand. Growing up, I was the kid who lingered in my sister's closet longer than necessary, fascinated by the textures, the colors, the way certain fabrics seemed to make people move differently. But this passion wasn't just about clothes, it was about identity. It was about control, creativity, and sometimes just a thrill. I live in a modest apartment in the heart of the city, sharing the space with my roommate and best friend, Emma. Emma has always been vibrant, outspoken, and a little daring, qualities I secretly admired and sometimes envied. She has a way of commanding a room without even trying, effortlessly blending confidence with charm. My relationship with her is complicated, in the best way possible. On the surface, we're roommates and friends, sharing jokes, meals, and late-night conversations about everything from college deadlines to the latest fashion trends. But beneath that, there's a layer of intimacy, an unspoken understanding that we share things no one else does. It all began on a quiet Saturday morning. Emma bounced into the living room, a shopping bag in one hand and a mischievous glint in her eyes. "Alex, I need a shopping buddy," she said, her voice lilting with excitement. "And don't even think about saying no." I raised an eyebrow, trying to mask the sudden jolt of anxiety mixed with intrigue. Shopping with Emma wasn't new, but today felt different. There was a tension in the air, as though she knew something I didn't, as though she had planned something I couldn't predict. "You know I'm not your typical shopper," I muttered, leaning against the doorway. Emma smirked, undeterred. "Exactly why you're perfect," she replied. "Come on, you'll see. And trust me, it'll be fun." The apartment felt smaller that morning, the sunlight streaming through the blinds highlighting the faint dust motes floating in the air. I could feel my heartbeat quicken as I considered her proposal. Part of me wanted to run, to retreat to the safety of my room and the quiet familiarity of my secret closet sessions. But another part, a reckless, thrilling part one rarely acknowledged, wanted to say yes. And then came the catch. "I want you to dress up," Emma added casually, almost as if it were a normal request. My stomach lurched. "Dress up?" I echoed, trying to keep my voice steady. She nodded, her eyes sparkling. "Yes. Like, fully. Skirt, heels, the works. I want you to be my girlfriend for the day." Silence fell over the room. I could feel the pulse in my ears, the blood rushing to my cheeks. My mind raced. This wasn't just shopping. This was a transformation, a challenge, a temptation all wrapped into one. I hesitated, unsure whether to recoil or leap headfirst into the unknown. But Emma's grin was infectious, persuasive. She had that way of making everything seem like an adventure, like life was only truly exciting if you risked a little embarrassment. The moment I agreed, the transformation began, not just physically, but emotionally. We went through my small wardrobe together, Emma pulling out pieces she thought would suit me, giving pointers, adjusting fabrics, whispering suggestions in a way that made my heart race. The thrill wasn't just in the clothes, it was in the attention, the touch, the subtle guidance that made me feel both exposed and empowered. By the time I stepped out in the borrowed outfit, a delicate blouse paired with a pleated skirt, stockings, and heels, I barely recognized myself in the mirror. But it wasn't just the reflection that caught me off guard, it was the way I felt. The soft brush of the skirt against my thighs, the slight wobble of my heels, the unfamiliar but intoxicating weight of lipstick on my lips, it was all new, all thrilling, all dangerously exciting. Emma clapped her hands together, delighted. "You look amazing," she said, eyes twinkling. "Honestly, you're perfect. Now come on, shopping awaits." As we left the apartment, the city streets seemed different, more alive, more charged. People glanced at me, some with curiosity, some with admiration, and others with confusion. Every step in the heels was a gamble, every sway of the skirt a declaration. I felt eyes on me that weren't really looking, as if the city itself had acknowledged the transformation. I was Alex, yes, but I was also someone else entirely, someone daring, someone visible, someone vulnerable. The day stretched ahead with promise and danger. Emma guided me through the malls, boutiques, and cafes, laughing when I stumbled slightly in the heels, teasing me about my hesitant glances, my shyness under attention. But behind the teasing, there was an edge, a silent acknowledgement that what we were doing wasn't just fun. It was risky. The potential for exposure, embarrassment, or judgment hovered over every aisle, every doorway, every reflection in a shop window. And yet, I couldn't stop smiling. Because beneath the fear was exhilaration. Beneath the uncertainty was thrill. Beneath the borrowed identity was a spark I had long suppressed. By the time the afternoon sun began to dip, casting long shadows across the city streets, I realized something profound. This wasn't just a shopping trip. This was a step into a world where I could be more than myself, where I could explore boundaries, desires, and identities without judgment. And with Emma beside me, guiding, teasing, and watching, I felt the intoxicating pull of adventure and the terrifying possibility that this day might change everything. The first steps out of the apartment felt surreal. The city's hum surrounded me, but every footstep in heels echoed in my chest like a drumbeat announcing my daring. Emma walked beside me, casual and confident, swinging a small shopping bag as if she had no idea the emotional storm she had unleashed. I, on the other hand, felt exposed in a way I hadn't anticipated. The skirt clung lightly to my legs, each step reminding me that I was no longer just Alex. I was someone else entirely, someone walking the fine line between thrill and danger. As we entered the first boutique, Emma's eyes sparkled with mischief. "Okay, let's start with makeup," she said. "I think it's time to really complete your look." My stomach twisted. Makeup had always been the most intimidating part of my transformation. Lipstick, mascara, eyeshadow. It wasn't just color on skin. It was the final seal of vulnerability. Emma's fingers hovered over a set of products, her smile reassuring but knowing. "Don't worry, I'll guide you. Just let me show you." The moment she applied the first brush to my cheek, a shiver ran through me. I caught my reflection in the mirror, and for a second, I barely recognized myself. The soft blush made my features delicate, almost fragile. My eyes, accentuated by mascara and eyeliner, seemed wider, more expressive, more feminine. The sensation was intoxicating. I felt both powerful and defenseless, as if this tiny brushstroke had unlocked a door inside me that I hadn't dared to open before. "Wow," Emma breathed, stepping back. "You look incredible." Her praise was a balm, but also a warning. Each word heightened the suspense. Someone could see me now, someone could recognize the person I used to be. Each reflection in the boutique windows amplified my anxiety, making me acutely aware of my dual identity. The next challenge was the clothes themselves. Emma pulled out a delicate blouse and a pleated skirt, urging me to try them on over my own outfit. The fabric slipped over my arms like a second skin, and the skirt hugged my hips in a way that was both thrilling and terrifying. I was painfully aware of how exposed I felt, yet I couldn't deny the rush of excitement coursing through me. As I adjusted the hem of the skirt, Emma whispered, almost conspiratorially, "You're going to have people looking twice today. Are you ready for that?" The question sent a jolt through me. Ready? No. But curious, exhilarated, and scared? Absolutely. The tension built as we moved through the boutique, me testing the limits of my new persona, Emma guiding every gesture, every posture, every hesitant step in heels. Outside, the city seemed alive with possibility. Passers-by glanced, some with curiosity, some with admiration. Every reaction was a test, every gaze a silent evaluation of the identity I had adopted. I felt like a performer in a show I hadn't auditioned for, yet couldn't leave. Emma's hand brushed mine occasionally, grounding me while simultaneously heightening the thrill. Lunch at a small cafe offered a brief respite, but even sitting there, the suspense lingered. I had to navigate utensils, drinks, and casual conversation while maintaining the illusion of this borrowed identity. Each sip of coffee was a delicate balancing act, each laugh a performance. Emma watched me with amusement and something else, perhaps pride, perhaps curiosity. By mid-afternoon, we had ventured into a larger mall, the crowds amplifying my nervousness. I felt every stare, every accidental glance from strangers magnifying the stakes. The heels clicked sharply on the marble floors, each echo a reminder that I was walking on the edge of exposure. Emma encouraged me, guided me, sometimes teasing me about my hesitancy, but always keeping the mood light enough to mask the tension. Yet, beneath the surface, my mind churned. What if someone from school saw me? What if my roommate discovered the outfit later? Each scenario played out in rapid succession, a mental montage of embarrassment, exposure, and thrill. The skirts and blouse were no longer just clothes, they were symbols of daring, of identity, of risk. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, casting long shadows through the mall, Emma suggested one final stop, a boutique known for elegant accessories. Jewelry, handbags, scarves, the final pieces to cement my transformation. I felt a mix of anticipation and dread. Each accessory was a test, each reflection a reminder of how far I had stepped from my usual self. Emma draped a delicate scarf around my shoulders, adjusted a necklace, and stepped back to admire her work. "Perfect," she whispered. "You're not just my shopping buddy. You're my girlfriend for the day." The words hit me like a shockwave. The thrill was intoxicating, but the suspense, the fear of being discovered, loomed over every interaction, every step, every glance in the boutique mirrors. As we left the store, shopping bags in tow, the city lights began to flicker on. I felt a strange duality, exhilaration intertwined with fear, confidence tangled with vulnerability. The day was far from over, and I knew the real challenge was yet to come. With Emma at my side, I was ready, or at least I hoped I was, to face whatever the evening had in store. The evening was approaching, and the mall began to empty slightly, leaving a quiet hum of background chatter and the occasional echo of distant footsteps. But for me, the tension only escalated. Every reflection in a shop window seemed sharper now. Every accidental glance from a stranger amplified my self-consciousness. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone might recognize me, or worse, that I'd make a misstep that would reveal my secret. Emma, sensing my anxiety, leaned in close. "Relax," she whispered, her hand brushing lightly against mine. "You're doing amazing. Just enjoy it." Her touch was grounding, yet it also made my heart race in ways I didn't expect. There was a thrill in being both guided and observed, in knowing that my every gesture was under subtle scrutiny. Our next stop was a boutique that specialized in shoes. Emma grinned mischievously as she handed me a pair of sleek heels, slightly higher than the ones I was wearing. "Think you can handle these?" she teased. I swallowed hard, feeling the familiar jolt of fear and excitement. Heels had always been a challenge for me. They demanded balance, poise, and confidence. But slipping them on, I felt an unfamiliar surge of empowerment. Each step was a tiny victory, a delicate dance between vulnerability and control. As we wandered through the store, I noticed the glances again, this time more deliberate, more focused. I felt exposed, acutely aware that my transformation was no longer just a personal thrill, it was a performance in public. I could hear the faint click of my heels on the polished floor, each echo a reminder that I was walking a fine line between exhilaration and embarrassment. Emma's laughter, soft and encouraging, was my anchor, yet it also reminded me of the stakes. After the shoes, we moved on to accessories, jewelry, handbags, and delicate scarves. Each addition completed the persona I was adopting, layering confidence atop vulnerability. Emma draped a lightweight scarf around my shoulders, adjusting the fabric with a practiced touch. "You're perfect," she whispered. "Absolutely perfect." The praise sent shivers down my spine. For the first time, I realized that my transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional. Each gesture, each compliment, each approving glance was reshaping how I saw myself. But with exhilaration came doubt. My mind raced with what-ifs. What if someone from school recognized me? What if my roommate walked in unexpectedly? What if this borrowed identity became too real, too permanent? Each thought was a small weight pressing on my chest, making me acutely aware of how fragile this new persona was. The clothes, the makeup, the heels, they were armor, yes, but also a reminder of how quickly it could all unravel. By the time we left the boutique, night had fallen. The city streets glowed under streetlights, casting elongated shadows that danced with each step I took. The thrill of exposure mingled with a creeping fear. I could feel every heartbeat, every brush of the skirt against my legs, every wobble of the heels amplifying my awareness of how exposed I was. Emma noticed my hesitation and smiled, playful yet reassuring. "You're doing great," she said, looping her arm through mine. "Let's grab a quick coffee before heading home." At the cafe, the suspense shifted. I had to navigate casual conversation while maintaining the illusion of this new identity. Each sip of coffee, each laugh, each glance around the room was a subtle challenge. The thrill was intoxicating, but the fear of discovery lingered. Emma teased me lightly, noting how delicate my hands looked, how soft my voice had become. Each comment made me both blush and smile, a mix of embarrassment and exhilaration that left me feeling alive in a way I hadn't expected. After coffee, Emma suggested a detour to a late-night boutique that stayed open for evening shoppers. The store was nearly empty, the quiet hum of fluorescent lights accentuating the intimacy of the moment. She guided me through the racks, selecting outfits that were bold, stylish, and undeniably feminine. As I tried on each piece, the reflection in the mirror became a dual image. Alex, the person I had always been, and this new, daring persona I was exploring. The contrast was exhilarating, terrifying, and impossible to ignore. It was in that boutique that the first obstacle appeared. A friend of Emma's, someone I recognized from school, entered unexpectedly. My heart lurched. The stranger glanced in our direction, then at me, eyes narrowing slightly. Panic surged. I was frozen, caught between the desire to maintain composure and the fear of exposure. Emma, sensing my tension, stepped slightly in front of me, shielding my form with a protective grace. Her whisper, almost teasing, yet grounding, reached my ear. "Relax. I've got you." The encounter passed without incident, but the adrenaline lingered. Every reflection, every glance, every touch now carried a heightened intensity. My transformation, once a private thrill, had become a delicate balancing act. I was not just wearing the clothes, I was inhabiting an identity that demanded confidence, poise, and discretion. And the more I embraced it, the more I feared losing control. By the time we left the boutique, night had fully descended. The city lights shimmered, reflections dancing on wet pavement from a recent drizzle. Emma held my hand, linking fingers in a way that both comforted and thrilled me. The suspense was no longer just about being seen, it was about maintaining this new identity, navigating the complexities of my dual life, and managing the emotional roller coaster that came with it. As we walked toward the subway, the last vestiges of daylight fading behind us, I realized something profound. This day wasn't just a shopping trip. It was a trial, a test, a journey into a world where identity, desire, and risk collided. With Emma beside me, guiding, teasing, and supporting, I felt the intoxicating pull of transformation, the thrill, the vulnerability, and the exhilarating fear of exposure. Little did I know, the true challenge, the one that would push both my courage and my secret to the limit, was only just beginning. By the time we left the subway, the night had deepened into a quiet, almost eerie calm. The streets glimmered under the dim glow of streetlights, puddles reflecting the occasional neon sign. My heels clicked against the pavement with a rhythmic sharpness, each step echoing my anxiety. Emma, walking beside me with effortless grace, seemed oblivious to the tension radiating from me. Or perhaps she enjoyed it. There was that familiar glint of mischief in her eyes. "I thought you said you were comfortable in heels," she teased lightly, linking her arm with mine. My heart thudded at the contact, a strange mixture of exhilaration and terror. The transformation I had embraced so fully in the boutique now felt like a tightrope I was walking in public. Every passerby was a potential witness, every reflection in a shop window a possible revelation of my secret. As we approached the next door, a small, trendy late-night clothing boutique, I felt my nerves spike. Emma had insisted we check out a special collection she had been dying to see, but I suspected it was another test, another opportunity for exposure. The automatic door slid open, and the soft chime announced our entrance. Inside, the boutique was dimly lit, accentuating the sleek displays of clothing and accessories. I felt a thrill, but also the unmistakable weight of suspense pressing on my chest. Emma pulled me toward a rack of dresses, her fingers brushing mine as she guided me. "Try this one," she said, holding up a delicate black dress with lace accents. "It's perfect for you." I hesitated, feeling the familiar flutter of vulnerability. Each garment was more than fabric. It was a symbol of daring, of identity, of risk. Sliding the dress over my head, the lace brushing my skin, I caught my reflection in the mirror. My face framed by soft curls, eyes accentuated by mascara, lips lightly glossed, I hardly recognized the person staring back. The thrill was immediate, but so was the fear. Someone could walk in at any moment. Someone could see. The dress felt like armor, yes, but also a spotlight on my vulnerability. Emma's approving gaze only heightened the intensity. "You look amazing," she whispered, her hand briefly resting on my waist. The contact sent a shiver down my spine. I was caught between exhilaration and panic, between wanting to flaunt this new persona and wanting to disappear into anonymity. Suddenly, a familiar voice rang out from the doorway. My stomach dropped. "Alex." It was my classmate, Jamie, someone who knew me well enough to recognize me instantly. My heart lurched, and the world seemed to slow. Emma instinctively stepped in front of me, shielding my form with a protective grace.
"Oh."
"Hi," she said brightly, masking the tension in her voice. "We were just shopping." Jamie's eyes flicked between us, narrowing slightly, a spark of suspicion in their gaze. I froze, unsure of what to do, unsure if my carefully constructed illusion would crumble in an instant. My hands trembled slightly, brushing against the fabric of the dress, as if it were a lifeline. Emma's grip on my arm was steady, grounding me in the chaos of my emotions. The encounter was brief. Jamie offered a hesitant wave and moved on, but the adrenaline lingered, a high-pitched tension vibrating through my body. My reflection in the mirror seemed more accusatory now, as if judging my audacity. Each glance, each movement, each whispered comment from Emma carried weight. The stakes had shifted. This was no longer just a playful experiment. It was a high-wire act of secrecy, desire, and risk. Emma, sensing my lingering fear, led me to the changing room. "Take a deep breath," she instructed. "You're doing amazing. Just one more outfit, and then we call it a night." I nodded, swallowing hard, my palms slick with nervous sweat. Inside the small changing cubicle, I slipped into a soft pink dress, the fabric clinging delicately to my frame. I felt a mixture of empowerment and fragility, a duality that made my heart race. The suspense mounted further when I noticed a loose strand of wig escaping my carefully styled hair. My fingers flew to adjust it, panic mingling with the thrill. Emma noticed instantly. "Relax," she said soothingly. "You're perfect. Just let me help." She adjusted the wig with practiced ease, her touch both comforting and electrifying. In that moment, I realized just how dependent I had become on her guidance, on her validation, on the thrill of stepping fully into this persona. We exited the changing room, stepping into the boutique once more. A small crowd had gathered near the display, and my heart pounded. Every eye felt like it was on me, every subtle glance a test of my composure. Emma guided me toward the exit, her hand brushing mine occasionally, anchoring me while simultaneously amplifying the thrill. Outside, the cool night air hit my skin, a welcome relief, yet also a reminder that the day's transformation was far from over. The heels clicked sharply against the pavement, each echo a heartbeat of suspense. Emma leaned in close, her voice low and teasing. "You've done so well today. But the night isn't over yet. Are you ready for the final test?" I swallowed, knowing exactly what she meant. The final test wasn't just about clothing or makeup. It was about maintaining this new identity in a real-world setting, navigating social interactions, and confronting the fear of exposure head-on. Every step forward was a choice, a daring leap into vulnerability, desire, and suspense. The final test Emma mentioned was about to begin. We turned a corner and entered a chic, dimly lit cafe, a popular spot for late-night patrons. The warm glow from hanging lights cast a soft halo around us, but the coziness of the cafe did little to calm my racing heart. Every table seemed occupied by strangers whose casual glances could turn into scrutiny at any moment. The stakes were high. Emma led me to a corner booth, sliding in beside me and tucking her arm through mine. "Relax," she whispered, her lips brushing my ear. "Just be yourself." Her voice was soothing, but my pulse betrayed me. Be myself. Who was myself anymore? The reflection in the mirrored wall opposite us showed a girl with glossy hair, perfectly applied makeup, and a delicate pink dress. Yet inside, I was Alex, trembling, aware of every heartbeat, every flicker of attention. The cafe's quiet murmur was interrupted by the sudden arrival of a group of familiar voices. My stomach dropped. A few classmates, including someone I'd hoped to avoid tonight, had just walked in. They were laughing, joking, completely unaware of my transformation, or maybe they suspected something. My hands tightened around the edge of the table, my nails pressing into the wood. Emma noticed immediately and gave my hand a reassuring squeeze. "Don't worry. I've got this." One of the classmates glanced toward us, narrowing their eyes, and for a terrifying second, I thought they recognized me. I felt my chest tighten, my heartbeat thundering in my ears. The mask of confidence I'd built over the evening wavered. Emma leaned closer, whispering, "Just smile. Everything's fine." I forced a smile, though it felt brittle, like it could shatter with the slightest nudge. The waiter approached, offering drinks. Emma ordered for both of us, her hand brushing mine again. I felt a jolt of electric thrill. This simple touch, in the midst of potential exposure, sent shivers down my spine. I realized that the emotional stakes were higher than any fashion trial or heel wobble. This was about trust, intimacy, and the daring vulnerability of revealing a hidden part of myself. As we sipped our drinks, trying to act casual, the unexpected obstacle appeared. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from my younger sister flashed across the screen. "Mom said you were out. Are you wearing my pink dress?" LOL. My heart froze. I'd hoped my sister would notice, that no one in the family would connect the dots. Now, the risk of discovery was immediate, personal, and terrifying. I stammered, fumbling for a response, my fingers trembling. Emma noticed my distress. "What's wrong?" she asked, her brows knitting together in concern. I hesitated, debating whether to tell her. "It's nothing. Just someone noticed something." Emma's eyes narrowed slightly, a playful smirk forming. So the plot thickens," she teased, leaning back. "Good. That's exactly the excitement I wanted tonight." Her confidence was infectious, and yet, I felt the pressure mounting. Every glance from the cafe's patrons, every reflection in the mirrored wall, every subtle twitch in my body was amplified. The duality of my identity, Alex and this new persona, was under siege, and I could feel it slipping at the edges. Then came the real test. One of the classmates from earlier, oblivious yet suspicious, walked past our table, brushing against the edge of my chair. My skirt rode up slightly, exposing more of my legs than intended. A gasp escaped me before I could stop it, and I felt my face flush with panic. Emma, sensing my fear, grabbed my hand and leaned close, her whisper steadying me. "Keep calm. No one noticed. I've got you." I tried to breathe, tried to anchor myself in the moment, but the emotional tension was unbearable. Every fiber of my being screamed that this could end in exposure, embarrassment, or worse. And yet, alongside the fear was an undeniable thrill, a realization that I was living fully, daringly, in a persona I had never allowed myself to embrace before. The symbolic moment struck when a small child in the cafe pointed at me and whispered to their mother, "Look, "Mommy, she looks just like my sister." My heart skipped. The comment, innocent as it was, crystallized the surreal transformation I had undergone. I was no longer Alex in my mind. I was inhabiting this feminine identity so convincingly that strangers mistook me for someone else entirely. The emotional stakes were at their peak. I felt exhilarated, terrified, and alive in ways I never had before. Emma's hand tightened around mine, a grounding anchor in the storm of my emotions. "You're incredible," she murmured, her eyes locking onto mine. "The night's just beginning. Are you ready to take it all the way?" I swallowed hard, knowing that the final exposure, the moment when my dual life could either be embraced or shattered, was imminent. Every step, every glance, every interaction was now a test of courage, poise, and the audacity to live unapologetically. The suspense, which had been simmering all evening, now boiled over into a palpable, almost tangible tension. The night had reached a fever pitch. The cafe was quieting down, the last of the patrons drifting toward the door. My body hummed with adrenaline, every nerve ending alive with the tension of the evening. I had made it this far, keeping my secret intact while navigating the delicate dance of public scrutiny and private thrill. But the danger wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Emma leaned close, her lips brushing my ear. "One more stop," she whispered, her tone half teasing, half commanding. I followed obediently, heels clicking on the pavement with each hesitant step. The city streets were slick with recent rain, the reflections of neon lights dancing on the asphalt like liquid jewels. Each step was a test, each shadow a potential revelation. As we approached a quiet boutique at the end of the block, I felt the familiar twinge of panic. This was it, the final moment she had promised. Emma opened the door, leading me inside, and I was met with the soft glow of display lights, illuminating racks of clothing and accessories. My reflection in the tall mirror by the entrance caught my eye. I froze for a moment, staring at the girl I had become. The mascara traced long, dark lashes over eyes that were bright, nervous, and strangely confident all at once. My pink dress hugged my figure perfectly, and my wig framed my face in soft curls. I barely recognized myself. Emma's eyes sparkled. "You're stunning," she breathed. "Now, let's make this unforgettable." Suddenly, the door chimed again, this time with a louder, more insistent sound. My stomach dropped. I wasn't prepared for another visitor. And then I saw him, Mr. Donovan, my teacher, standing there with a puzzled expression. My heart seized in my chest. "Alex." His voice carried a tone of disbelief, mixed with recognition. My mind raced. How had he found me here? Was this a coincidence, or had someone told him? My secret, my carefully curated identity, was on the verge of being exposed. Emma stepped forward smoothly, positioning herself slightly in front of me. "Oh, hello," she said brightly, masking the tension in her voice. "We were just browsing." Mr. Donovan's eyes flicked between us, and I could feel the weight of judgment pressing down. Every heartbeat thundered in my ears. I shifted nervously, tugging at the hem of my dress, conscious of every inch of fabric that revealed me to the world. "Interesting choice," he said finally, his tone neutral but loaded with implication. "Alex, or should I say," he trailed off, leaving the sentence hanging like a guillotine poised above my secret. I opened my mouth to speak, to explain, but no words came. My throat felt dry, my mind spinning. Emma squeezed my hand gently, grounding me, but the suspense was unbearable. Every second stretched into eternity, the possibility of exposure looming larger with each passing moment. Then, just as Mr. Donovan took a cautious step closer, the lights flickered, a brief, maddening moment of darkness. When they came back on, he was gone. I blinked, my heart hammering. Had he really been there? Was it a trick of my exhausted, adrenaline-fueled mind? Emma laughed softly, a mischievous glint in her eyes.
"See? That wasn't so bad," she teased.
"You handled it perfectly." But I couldn't shake the feeling that the danger wasn't over. My reflection in the mirror seemed different now, haunted, uncertain. The girl I had become tonight was fragile, teetering on the edge between thrill and catastrophe. Every brush of fabric, every sway of my skirt, every step in these high heels felt like it could expose me at any moment. As we turned to leave, a notification flashed on my phone. My sister's name lit up the screen. "You left something behind. Are you really doing this?" My hands shook as I read the message, the words echoing in my mind. The line between playfulness and peril was thinner than ever, and I realized that tonight's adventure was far from over. Emma leaned close again, her voice low, teasing, and filled with a thrill that made my pulse spike. "Ready for the next challenge?" I swallowed hard, my heart racing. My mind screamed caution, but my body, my reflection, and the rush of the evening urged me forward. The thrill, the fear, the transformation, it was addictive, intoxicating, and dangerous. And just as we stepped out into the night, a shadow moved across the alley beside us, a figure I didn't recognize, watching, waiting. My breath caught. The city's neon glow reflected in my wide eyes, my mascara-lined lashes trembling with suspense. The secret I thought was safe was no longer entirely mine. The suspense lingered like a storm cloud overhead, unresolved, electric. I could feel the thrill, the fear, and the possibility of exposure all colliding in one heartbeat. Emma glanced at me, her smile knowing, almost challenging, and I realized the night had only just begun.